Show me a single scar. From a battle you haven't fought yet, you can't. Then why are you bleeding? Look at your hands right now. They are not bound by ropes. They are not locked in irons. Yet, they are frozen. You are preparing for a war that hasn't been declared, coding a disaster that hasn't happened, and mourning a loss that belongs only to a tomorrow that does not exist. You are suffering, not from reality, but from your own imagination. Every night, you lie awake, building a prison out of invisible bricks. You examine every scenario, you calculate every risk, and you come to the same paralyzing conclusion. What if I fail? And so, to protect yourself from the ghost of defeat, you choose the worst kind of failure. You choose never to begin, but to understand why your mind constructs these invisible walls, we must look into the ancient architecture of human anxiety. The ancient Roman philosopher Seneca once wrote a letter to his friend Lucilius. In it, he left a warning that has echoed through 2,000 years. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Think about the weight you carry. It is not the weight of the present moment. Right now, in this exact second, you are safe. The air in your lungs is real. The ground beneath your feet is solid. The threat you fear is a shadow cast by the candle of your own intellect. You have used your intelligence not to create, but to torture yourself. Your mind has become a master architect of worst-case scenarios. It tells you that if you start that project, if you express that feeling, if you take that leap, we'll fall, the world will laugh, and you will be left broken in the dust. But open your eyes, look back at your life. How many monsters has your mind created that never actually showed up at your door? You have survived 100% of your worst days, yet you still treat the future like an executioner waiting in the dark. We treat ourselves like fragile glass, forgetting that the finest vessels are born from the fire of uncertainty. Let me share with you a story of a craft that turned vulnerability into a superpower. In ancient Japan, there was a young apprentice who desired to create the most beautiful porcelain tea bowl in the land. He spent months studying the clay, mastering the wheel, and controlling the fire. But he had a secret terror. He was terrified that once the bowl was finished, it would drop and shatter. This fear consumed him. Every time he picked up the clay, his hands shook. He thought, if it is going to break eventually, why should I pour my soul into it now? He became so paralyzed by the potential shatter that he stopped turning the wheel. He left the clay to dry and harden into a useless gray stone. One evening, his master brought him into the quietest room of the monastery. In the center sat a single bowl. It was not perfect. It was crossed with thick, jagged lines of shimmering gold. The master looked at the young man and said, "You are waiting for an absolute certainty that does not exist in nature. You think the value of the vessel is in its immunity to damage? But the true art is not in avoiding the break. The true art is Kintsugi, the understanding that the fracture is part of the history, and the mend is where the gold is poured. The bowl that fears the drop remains raw clay forever. It is safe from cracks, yes, but it will never hold tea. It will never fulfill its destiny. If the art of living is not about remaining unbroken, then how do we cure this sickness of perfectionism? The answer lies in an ancient antidote. We paralyze our hands because we confuse the fear of failure with the reality of failure. We wear the heavy armor of perfectionism, thinking it will shield us from judgment. But perfectionism is not a shield. It is a straitjacket. It doesn't protect you from breaking, it prevents you from moving. The Stoics practiced a different art. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They did not hide from the shadow of failure. They stared directly into it. They asked themselves, what is the absolute worst that can happen? If you try and fail, you learn, you adapt, you collect data, you rebuild. Your ego takes a hit, but your soul gains a scar. And a scar is proof of life. But what happens if you never try because you are afraid? There is no learning. There is no growth. There is only the slow, suffocating decay of regret. You become an old man or an old woman looking back at a blank canvas, wishing you had at least spilled some paint, even if it was a mess. The canvas is waiting. The clay is ready. The only question left is whether you will choose the comfort of the shadow or the courage of the scar. Stop fighting the ghosts of what might be. The future is an unwritten script, and you are misusing your energy trying to read pages that haven't been printed. Step into the arena of your own life. Drop the heavy armor of perfection. It is time to let your hands get dirty with the clay of reality. If you take the step and it goes wrong, remember the gold. The master craftsman does not weep over the broken pieces. He smiles because he knows he is about to create something stronger, something deeper, something far more beautiful than an unbroken illusion. If it must, because you cannot heal a life you never dared to live. Leave a comment below with the one thing you are holding back from starting today. Let us break the silence together. Subscribe. To heal in silence,